Hello, I'm Alison Salvesen. I'm the tutor for Oriental Studies at Mansfield College. Oriental Studies at Oxford University covers a range of cultures and languages in the Middle East and Asia, all the way from Egyptology to Japanese. But since Mansfield is quite a small college, we only accept students for Arabic, Hebrew and Jewish studies. I got into this area myself after starting out in Oxford as a classics student many years ago, taking Latin and Greek. But I've been fascinated with the concept of translation for a long time, especially the idea of translating scriptures. When I was about 9 years old, I heard an interview on the radio with a member of the team who'd been involved in the New English Bible translation of the Old Testament. He was explaining how obscure words in the Hebrew Bible had sometimes been misunderstood, and so translators needed to update them as new discoveries were made. This stuck in my mind for a decade, and eventually I changed my undergraduate course to Hebrew with subsidiary papers in Aramaic, which was the language Jesus spoke, and Syriac, which is another type of Aramaic from northern Syria. I wrote my doctorate on a Jewish translation of the Hebrew Bible carried out in the late 2nd century of the Common Era, and it only survives in fragments. Almost all my research since then has been on how people have translated and interpreted the Old Testament in antiquity up to the early Islamic period. I'll go back to Hebrew and Jewish studies in a minute, but I want to tell you about the Arabic undergraduate course first. I don't teach on it myself, but I've looked after quite a few Arabic students at Mansfield over the years. I'm always amazed at how much they learn in 4 years. Almost all of them start completely from scratch. They don't know Arabic at all at the beginning of the first term, but by the end of the course, they're comfortable and fluent in reading, writing and speaking it. This is because they get a lot of intensive contact hours in the first year, about 10 hours a week. And then after the first year prelims exams in June, they go abroad for their second year to learn Arabic in an immersive setting in the Middle East, usually Jordan. In the 3rd and 4th years, they're back in Oxford to continue with Arabic language, plus core papers in history, religion and literature. And at this stage, they choose to do either Arabic with Islamic studies, taking special papers in, say, Islamic art and architecture, or they choose to do 3 papers in a subsidiary language, and that's also from scratch. It may be biblical or modern Hebrew, or Turkish, or Hindi and Urdu, or Persian, or even Latin or Greek. For the BA in Hebrew or in Jewish studies, the first year is exactly the same for both courses. Students get rigorous tuition in the 3 main periods of Hebrew, which are biblical, rabbinic and modern. Some students already come knowing some biblical or modern Hebrew, but quite a few of them don't know any at all. In any case, everybody needs to learn to approach the language in a very grammatical way, even if they're able to read it to begin with. After the first year exams, called prelims, students have to decide whether to go for the more essay-based Jewish studies course with papers in history, religion and literature, or the more linguistically focused Hebrew course studying texts in the original language. Those who take the Hebrew course can also choose to spend an extra year in their 3rd year studying Hebrew and other subjects at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Then they come back for a 4th and final year in Oxford. Otherwise, they can stay in Oxford for all 3 years and not go abroad. So why do students want to study Arabic or Hebrew and Jewish studies? Over the years, I've noted that some have a family background that gives them a keen interest in learning more. Others have a strong religious interest in Islam or Judaism or Christianity. But quite a lot of students are just very, very interested in these cultures that have been so influential globally, not just in the past, but also today. And they want to find out more by immersing themselves in the languages. 2 things for studying these subjects are really crucial though: a very strong linguistic ability, because these are not easy languages, and also a willingness to study the cultures and religions from an academic perspective. So what we look for in applicants are a very strong aptitude for language learning, an analytical approach to texts, and the ability to ask probing questions. This is why we expect applicants to sit the Oriental Language Aptitude Test, the OLAP test, at half term in the autumn. Although we don't use it to deselect anybody, and we don't know the results of those tests until the interview week in December. In fact, the OLAT test is quite fun if you like puzzling out made-up languages, which is what the test consists of. There are at least 2 interviews, the first one at the faculty end and the second in Mansfield with me and another colleague. Perhaps also a third one at another college to make sure no strong candidates slip through the net. Applicants for Oriental Studies tend to study very different A-level or IB subjects. They may even do science subjects. So we don't really ask them much about those subjects within the interview. Instead, it's very common for interviewees to be given a short text in English to look at a few minutes before they come into the room, and then they get asked questions about the text by the interviewers. There's no one right answer. In fact, there are no right answers, and we don't set out to catch people out. We really want to find out how you think, whether you can think on your feet, what your ideas are, how your mind works really. And we definitely take nerves into account. Just about everybody is nervous when they come into the room, and we know that. So why apply to Mansfield? All Oriental Studies teaching takes place within the faculty. So when you're in college, you're home for food and fun and friends and maybe some sleep and sport. You'll spend an awful lot of time in the department with other students in Arabic or Hebrew. So it's a nice change to come back into college and mix with people doing other subjects like physics, English, maths, geography, and so on. So finally, careers. What does anyone do with a degree in Arabic or Hebrew or Jewish studies? Well, for a start, they're standout degrees and a pile of job applications from bigger subjects. Apart from the finely honed skills of analysis and discussion that Oxford Humanities courses train you in, success in the Arabic or Hebrew courses show that you can manage your time very well. It's no mean feat to get to all the language classes with all your preparation done day after day. And of course, you'll be able to speak at least one important and more unusual modern language, so you'll stand out from the crowd. Our students get employed pretty quickly. They go into law, or they work with charities such as refugee councils. They go into school teaching, for instance, religious studies, theatre production, Middle East think tanks, publishing, management consultancy. So it's a huge range. Quite a few do carry on to do further academic study, whether that's just another master's or sometimes also a PhD. So if you want to know more about these courses, please do email me with any questions, and I do hope you'll consider applying to Mansfield.